I have uploaded quite a few videos to this channel in the last year and a half, some pretty good and some probably not so good. I strive to come up with interesting people and events for the subject matter of these videos. I believe both the person and events detailed in this video are equally astounding. You may know the story, you may not. Either way, I think it is so bizarre and mind-boggling, you will find it worthy of the few minutes it will take to view it. At the end of the video, I will supply information regarding a documentary about this event that might be of interest to you. Marvin Heemeyer was a citizen of a small town in Colorado, Grand Lake, which is 2 hours northwest of Denver in Grand County. Grand Lake is approximately 16 miles from Granby, Colorado. Granby is the largest town in Grand County with a population of around 2,000, not unlike thousands of small towns across the U.S. where everybody knows everybody and newcomers are looked at with a suspicious eye. Marvin Heemeyer moved to the area in the early 1990s and settled into a comfortable life. He was an accomplished welder and bought at auction a 2-acre commercial lot with a metal commercial building in Granby that he would use to operate a muffler shop. That would turn out to be the beginning of a long feud between Marvin and the people and government of Granby. There was a concrete plant that bordered Marvin's property, and the owner of that business wanted the piece of property that Marvin bought. They competed for the parcel at the auction, and the owner of the concrete plant, Killdozer, was very agitated that he lost out on his chance to own the 2-acre lot. Dochev's reputation was known as that of a hothead and bully. Subsequently, the town fathers of Granby informed Marvin that he would need to hook his building onto the town sewage system, which he agreed to until he learned of the personal financial impact that would cause him. Not only was he required to hook on, but he would be required to personally pay the expense of doing so, estimated to be $60,000 to $80,000 to lay the 60 feet of connector pipe. Marvin declined to pay for the hookup and proceeded to operate a successful muffler repair shop out of his building. The town started accruing fines against Heemeyer for codes violations. The next major dispute that arose out of the now simmering feud between Marv and Granby centered around Dochev's desire to put a concrete batch plant right next to the muffler shop. Marvin objected to the dust, noise, and limited access to his building that the batch plant would inherently cause. Many townspeople, especially those that lived close to the proposed new concrete batch plant, agreed with Marvin and voiced their opposition at town council meetings. In spite of pressure from Marv and many people in Granby, the new plant was approved, and he was fined $2,500 by the town council and a city judge for codes violations, including not being hooked up to the sewer. He eventually sued the city on the grounds that the plant would block access to his shop. He lost that court battle and ultimately sold his property to the town garbage service owners for $400,000. That company agreed to rent the building back to Marvin because they were more interested in using the 2-acre lot to store and stage their garbage trucks as opposed to the building itself. Prior to the sale of his property, Marvin had bought a very large Komatsu D355A bulldozer at an auction in California. He parked it on his property in clear view of the concrete plant and its owner, Cody Dochev, Marv's bitter enemy. Most people speculated that he did that purely for intimidation purposes. He subsequently moved the dozer into his now rented building and began a 1.5-year project to retrofit the Komatsu dozer and turn it into an indestructible machine designed to destroy anything and everything within its sight. Being an expert welder, he was able to weld together large pieces of plate steel with cavities between each piece, into which he poured quickcrete concrete to create barriers impervious to small arms fire and explosives. He also built a heavy-duty crane device which was used to raise the extremely heavy panels onto the dozer to be permanently attached. The clandestine project took a 1.5 years to complete, and Marv lived at the plant during that time period. Nobody has admitted knowing about the build as it was happening. However, I suspect some friends probably knew but haven't admitted to it for fear of legal repercussions. For good measure, Marv added reinforced gun ports made of 1/2-inch thick steel plate for 3 rifles he mounted into the cab: a .50 caliber rifle, a .308 semi-automatic rifle, and a .22 caliber rifle. For his visibility outside the dozer, he mounted cameras connected to 2 monitors inside the cab. Each camera porthole was protected by 3-inch thick clear Lexan, and he even had a compressed air tank connected to air nozzles used to keep the cameras clear of debris. Marvin Heemeyer was ingenious, and he thought out his reign of terror on Granby, Colorado, down to every last detail. On June 4th, 2004, Heemeyer drove his heavily armed bulldozer through the wall of his shop, and the carnage began. As might be expected, his first target was the neighboring concrete plant owned by his avowed enemy, Cody Dochev. Marv was just beginning his reign of terror on Granby, Colorado. His next stop was Mountain Parks Electric. During movement of the dozer to the electric company, Granby Sheriff Glenn Traynor got on top of it to try to somehow stop it. Traynor threw flashbang explosives into an air conditioner vent to no avail. Flashbangs are non-lethal grenade-type explosive devices used to disable a person. Marv proceeded to the electric company and continued his assault, doing major damage. The next stop was Town Hall. This was an obvious target given Marv's long-standing feud with the town government and its leaders. Next stop, Sky High News Building, the local newspaper. Marv had a beef with its owner, Patrick Brower. One of the town's most prominent and wealthy families was the Thompson family. They were deep into the politics of Granby, and Marv had a perception that they were out to get him. He went for their excavating business. Marv then went to the propane company. There he fired at some propane tanks, presumably to ignite them, but that did not happen. His last stop was Gamble's hardware store. The owner was on the town board and as such was a target. The bulldozer had sustained damage and was now leaking fluid. While trying to destroy Gamble's store, it bogged down and was no longer mobile. Sensing that his reign of terror on Granby was over, Marv stuck a .357 Magnum pistol in his mouth and committed suicide. It took several hours to cut his body out of his bulldozer, which would come to be known as the Killdozer. If you found this story fascinating as I did, you can watch a documentary about it on Netflix. The name of the film is Tread, is an hour and a half long, and obviously delves much deeper into the details of this amazing event. If you enjoyed this video, give a thumbs up, click on the bell for notifications of future videos, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for watching.